Let me ask you, Senator, we got a couple things we want to get to. One, first off, is Joplin. You've had a chance to look at the devastation down there. How is the rebuilding going?
Well, I have. I've been there several times, and, that was in my congressional district for 14 years. I had an office there for 14 years. I probably, because of where I live and what I've done, I may have been to more tornado aftermath than almost anybody you know who's not a professional storm chaser, and I never saw anything like it. It's a powerful tornado for sure, but it just happened to hit a very densely populated, densely built-up area and stayed on the ground for 6 miles. And so they've got some huge challenges. One is, of course, dealing with, as a community, with the loss of life and injury, and almost so many people were touched in some way by the 154 people that were killed. Two are things like trying to get people back in school by the end of August, with the high school gone, the Votech school gone, the Catholic school gone, three of the dozen or so elementary schools gone. And I don't mean damaged. I mean gone, and those buildings will never be used again. So there are big challenges. The 2,500 employee hospital that's now working out of essentially a military field tent, not too far away, thank goodness, from the other hospital in the community that was also big, but the tornado missed it by like 200 yards. So if the tornado would have been 200 yards wider at that point, it would have destroyed both of the huge regional hospitals in the community. So it's a big challenge, but it's one that I think the community is stepping up to meet. Senator Danforth has put together a Joplin Tomorrow fundraising effort to help businesses who want to build back stronger than they were, more than the insurance would cover, to get low interest or no interest loans. So lots of good things are happening there, but it was a devastating tornado by any measure.
One of the things that's not getting any attention on the St. Louis side of Missouri, and that is the flooding going on up in the Missouri River in the Kansas City, upper Missouri, Nebraska area. We've talked to the Corps of Engineers. They say St. Louis and the region has nothing to worry about. I just find that so hard to believe.
Well, now they tell me that the Missouri River at St. Louis will be at some level of flood stage at least through the end of August. So I don't know what that means in terms of nothing to worry about. I think there's no doubt that some farmland in the bottoms will be put out of commission for this year, and levees will be dramatically challenged by just having water standing on either side of them for weeks and weeks and weeks. But the Missouri River is getting a lot of attention in my office, at least, and Senator McCaskill and I, who don't agree on lots of things, are working together with our colleagues up the river, particularly our two colleagues in North Dakota. We've called a meeting for next week of a Missouri River working group to see if this isn't time to review the 2004 plan, not in another 14-year study, but what do we need to be sure that we don't have this experience again? For the first time, this flood goes all the way to Montana. The 1993 flood was all about us. For the first time ever, everybody on the river has flood concerns, and so maybe we can get everybody talking about the flood concerns that Missouri's always had, and at this moment, everybody else has those same concerns as well.
Senator Blunt, let me ask you about the looming possible debt ceiling vote. There's one group of people who say that Armageddon would happen if we did not raise the debt ceiling. There are other people who say it's no big deal. Where do you come down on this conversation?
Well, at some point, it is a big deal, raising the debt ceiling. It needs to happen, but the only thing worse, in my opinion, than not raising the debt ceiling for our economy and our future as a nation economically would be to raise the debt ceiling without some substantial change in behavior. I'm not going to vote to raise the debt ceiling unless there's some real structural changes that ensure that we stop doing what we're doing. This is one of the few pressure points, leverage points that we'll ever have on this topic. And I do think you need to raise the debt ceiling, but it's more important, in my opinion, to get spending under control. And if you read any of the rating agencies, Standard & Poor and other agencies, they don't say we're in trouble because of the debt ceiling or that we might default. They say we're in trouble and we could be downgraded as an economy to invest in our bonds and everything because we're spending way too much money relative to our ability to produce goods and resources. So there's a solution here, and I'm hopeful that the president and everybody else finds what that solution is, and it's not, let's just do more of what we've been doing, which is where the president started out.
Would you vote for a bill or a compromise which cut Medicare, Social Security, and other spending, deep spending cuts, and included in that some type of tax increase? Would you vote for that deal?
No. I'm not for any tax increase as part of any agreement right now. We need to be focused on creating jobs, and increasing taxes at any level will not do that. Even Bill Clinton yesterday was saying, don't do anything about the tax structure until the economy recovers. And I think that's right, and I'm not going to vote for a deal that has tax increases in it. If there's some way to figure out how to create revenue, one way would be maybe selling some assets we have that we don't use effectively, or something like that. I'm not opposed to seeing some revenue as part of this agreement, but not at the cost of increasing taxes at a time when we need to be focused on cutting spending and doing everything we can to encourage private sector job creation in some order. And frankly, I think job creation is the number one priority now, but followed very closely by cutting spending. And by job creation, I mean not government jobs. I mean do the things that encourage individuals to create private sector jobs by quit talking about raising taxes and raising the utility bill and more regulation. All of those things, so much part of what this administration's been doing, have put a damper on any enthusiasm to take a chance and grow the economy.
Senator McCaskill, I heard say the other day that she'd be for some type of means testing with either Medicare, Medicaid, Medicare Part D, or Social Security. Would you be in favor of some type of means testing?
I probably would. In fact, I was in favor of Medicare Part D, and it has means testing in it. You get more assistance if you don't have resources than you do if you do have resources. Everybody can still participate in that program, but I think that we're going to have to look at that, though it's best to look at that for people who are not retired now or so close to retirement that they can't adjust their planning. And generally, and I think the age there is under 55, I'm looking at what we can do for Social Security so that everybody there in the studio, most of whom are under 55, have a chance to get Social Security too.
Senator Roy Blunt, always a pleasure. Safe travels, and we'll see you next time you're in town.